Hey guys, welcome back to my sauna. We're actually not going to spend too much time in my plant room today. We're going to spend the majority of the time, well, I think majority of the time downstairs in my main floor or my living room and spend some time with my plants down there, which you guys haven't seen for quite a while. I thought I'd do a little walkthrough of like my Vittsjo shelf, the plants that are going on there. I've gotten rid of a whole bunch of plants lately, and I want today to add some plants to my Milsbo cabinet. So my Milsbo cabinet has been a Hoya cabinet for a few years, and I've said in the past that I'm trying to transition that not to be a pure Hoya cabinet, but maybe have some orchids in there and some baby anthuriums because they're outgrowing the space. Actually, I'm just going to show you right now what we're working with, but right now the bottom level of my tent is where the majority of like my small anthuriums live, and as they're getting bigger they're growing into each other, and I've gotten rid of some, but with every leaf that they grow it gets harder and harder to position them so that they don't damage each other. I also have these wire grids higher up in the tent that have some smaller plants, so maybe we'll pick from there, but I wanted to pick like a handful of anthuriums to grow inside that Milsbo cabinet. Ones that aren't going to get too big, too long of petioles. You guys know if you have a Milsbo cabinet that it's not that wide and it's really not that deep, so nothing that has like a wide growing pattern. So I'll have this little bin. We're just going to pop some plants in here. I'll show you what I think I want to put in the Milsbo, and then we'll head downstairs. Side note, I was on the Crystal Star Nursery website this morning and I found an orchid that I want so bad. Of course it's sold out, so I can't get it, but I've never seen this one before. It's called Dendrobium cucumarinum, and the leaves are insane. They look like, pardon my ignorance with orchids, but I've never seen an orchid like this before, but they look like succulents. They look like a succulent that flowers like an orchid, and the blooms look so delicate. They're quite small and like finger-like, but it's just so beautiful. That is probably at the top of my wish list for, or well, I mean, definitely on the top of my wish list for orchids right now, but I wanted to flag this. If you guys know where to get it, that's not Crystal Star Nursery, or maybe I'll just wait for them to restock it, but I really want that one. But also I would welcome any sort of information on how to successfully grow this plant. I think the most daunting thing with me for orchids is that it's so varied, and they're just like a massive amount of information, species, hybrids, cultivars, and they're found growing all over the world in different habitats, so you just can't assume you can take the same approach with everything. I think that's the most intimidating part for me for orchids, but this one has so quickly shot up to the top of my wish list. Anyway, back to the anthurium. My approach, I think, is because I've had aroids in that cabinet in the past and they would just stress me out because they would just grow so big and smush up into the glass. My approach are ones that grow quite compact or are pendant, so they're gonna grow like this way and grow downwards, and then it would take a little bit longer for it to outgrow the cabinet. It would just have to get so long that it starts touching the floor of the cabinet. But I think that would buy me the most amount of time keeping it in there and relieve me of some space in here. So the first one I thought of is my little SP Nova Costa Rica. I'm gonna just post a photo. Last time I showed it in my video last week, and Justin Jones posted a photo of his. This is what it looks like, a little bit more mature. It looks like so elegant. To my eye, it looks different enough to a Wenlinger eye. And this is that fresh leaf you saw last week, a little bit more expanded. This right now lives like on a grid at the back of my tent, but it's kind of behind my Dark Phoenix, which is quite large, so I don't get to enjoy it very much. So I want to bring this one down, but I also don't want everything to be green in there. I want a little bit of color. I only want to do 4-inch pots or smaller, so that doesn't leave me that many options. One thing I could do is put a red crystallinum in there, and I just picked this one up because I thought it was my slowest growing one. So this one was from Woohoo Tropicals. This is like an unknown, like a forgotten about which red crystallinum was selfed. This one might be one of the reddest ones that I own, but only time will tell. I just realized that this one has like 3 growth points. So you can see that it's activated and offset here. There's an active offset. It might be hard to show you. There's an active offset here, and then it's growing actively from the top as well. I think this one could be a good option because it will provide some like contrast, some silver veins, maybe a little bit of red every now and then. And because it has 3 growth points activated, I think it's gonna be slow. And it's already slow to begin with, but I don't think it's gonna be that fast growing. It's not gonna outgrow that cabinet very quickly. Another plant that I think could work in there is this little baby king of spades. This is like a maybe selfling that I got a few months ago, only because King of Spades is very slow growing. I do think they grow a little faster at this age. This one's stretching a little bit because it's living inside of my little exo in the corner that doesn't get a ton of light. I've been growing plants in there that I want to shade a little bit more. So one of my Beveps is in there, my dark forgetii, like the one that I'm trying to grow big. It's quite small right now, but I think that it's too low of light for this King of Spades, and I think it can live in that cabinet a little bit longer than a lot of these other anthuriums without getting too big. And the reason why I put it in there is because I wanted to quarantine it a little bit. Since it was a fresh import, I didn't really want to introduce it into my tent right away, but I wanted to give it humidity because it was a fresh import. So yeah, the goal is to have plants in there that don't need repotting constantly. This might be a good option. And then the last one, I think we only have room for one more. I want to prioritize getting this one to fit in there because I think this would really make that cabinet come alive. So this is my Huperzia cardinata soy sun. It's been doing really well inside this exo right here, but the way that I have the grid set up, the basket is slightly too small for this reservoir container, so it kind of sits at an angle and it just kind of like dangles over. But I think I have a basket in the Milsbo cabinet that's big enough for this, and I think this would make everything come together, and this would hold me accountable to watering that cabinet because this needs to never ever dry out. But I'm quite pleasantly surprised and in kind of shock, to be honest, that this one is actually actively growing for me. Look at all those actively growing tips. This is starting to get tall enough to start trailing. Oh, I just can't wait for this to be a big guy. This is the only Huperzia I own and I have ever owned, so all I can say is that this one's planted in tree fern soil. It has a leco reservoir layer at the bottom. When I water it, I will water it until it has a small reservoir, but I don't keep that reservoir constant. It has really fine roots, so I don't really see any roots on the side, but it's actively growing, so it doesn't hate the substrate. But when I got it from Woohoo Tropicals, it was in moss and they've been growing it in moss in their greenhouse, so I think that could also work. But I also didn't want it to root out a whole bunch in the moss and like transition it out because I don't like to grow in moss, so I didn't want to destroy a huge massive root system, so that's why I have it in the tree fern soil. So anyway, we're going to take these downstairs and I'm going to show you the cabinet, what's inside, and then we're going to completely gut it and bring everything out and then just rearrange it back in. Okay, so we're in the living room. This is my Milsbo. If you're new to this channel and you haven't seen any videos of my living room, the reason why I don't like to film down here is how dark my house is. So my plant room is just full of grow lights, so it's really easy to get the camera to work. But when I film down here, even if I have a softbox, which I didn't bring down here because it's kind of pointless sometimes, a ring light, whatever, it just doesn't really, it always feels really dark. So that's a fair warning to you. The plants are lit, but the general house is quite dark. But anyway, here's what we're working with. It's quite a lot emptier than the last time you saw it. I've recently gotten rid of a bunch of Hoyas. What's left in here are ones that either like can't be sold because they're dying or I like them too much. And I've already added some orchids in here. So this is my Phalaenopsis schilleriana. This is, what even is this? Oh no, I've lost the tag. I will find the name and we'll put it here and I'll show you what the bloom looks like. I want that one to bloom so bad because I only bought it because of the bloom. Obviously, it's not like a very pretty orchid without the blooms. And also, I repotted this in like November, December, and I used tree fern soil. And the last time I repotted this guy into tree fern, so many people were like, no soil, that plant's gonna die. But when I repotted that, nobody said anything. It hasn't been thriving. It hasn't died. It has grown a tiny bit, but it obviously doesn't want to live in tree fern soil. It's too dense. The reason why I put in that mix is because I know that it kind of likes wet feet because it grows by running water. But I guess the point is that it's running water. It's always wet, but it's oxygenated. So I think I need to do a lot area of a mix and just keep a little bit of a reservoir. Oh my God, a moth just flew in here. Get out of here. Do you guys see it? It's down here, down in the corner. You're gonna get moth dust all over my plants. Also this one, what's it called? Paphiopedilum senemore. It just finished flowering, but I think it'll continue flowering in here. So those are staying. Some Hoyas will be moving out, like this one. I'm going to get rid of this one. This one is a reverted Wilbur Graves. So it used to be like a silvery Russian Wilbur Graves, but now it's just like a really cute spotty little thing. But I don't know. It just like, it doesn't bring me joy to grow it. I like to look at it, but I don't have any motivation to take care of it. So I think what I'll do is I will just bring everything out and I'll show you what I'm keeping, what I'm getting rid of, and we'll go from there. So I just did the most annoying thing you could possibly do when you're filming is I forgot to hit record. I pulled all the plants out and I was like talking about like which ones I'm keeping, which ones I'm not. And I finished it and then I hit stop and the scariest sound came out, which is the start record sound. So yeah, all the plants are out now. So change of plan. I'm going to show you the plants that I'm keeping after they're back in. So we're going to give this a light clean. It's not massively dirty. I did clean it maybe about a month and a half ago. Okay, so it's pretty clean now. So I've been struggling with trying to figure out whether I want to keep this little, like it was sheet moss with like a coir sheet. It used to be green. Obviously the moss didn't survive in here. So I was thinking whether I should just take all that innard stuff out and just have the plain grid. But then you'd be able to see the wall a little bit more. You can see it here, but I also have some, I think this is spider wood with some cork bark. And it also has like dead moss on here. I kind of like this a little bit. I just don't know. I don't have the motivation to really gut it. And like the alternative is to have a plain grid to see the back. And I don't really want that either. So I'm going to leave this the way it is for now. And I'm going to attempt to put plants back in while holding the camera. So let's see how this goes. So the Huperzia, I was thinking could go here maybe. Okay, so right now it's touching the light, which is not good. So we're gonna move this basket a little bit. Can it even move? Kind of sit here, I think. It still kind of touches the light. It's a little bit too close for comfort. It could comfortably go there, but I just don't, it's not high enough for me. I think I need a little spacer behind here to hold this basket like upright like this. But right now it's kind of dangling down a bit. Maybe there is not so bad. I had this Phalaenopsis here before, so I think I'll do that. And then the Paphiopedilum was here. It's a little bit farther away from the light, but I think that works. This Hoya E. Rocheri was here, and I think that does work somewhat. It's a little bit farther away from the light now that I moved that little shelf thing down one notch. But now it feels like too much empty space above, so I think I might move that shelf back up a bit. I feel like that works. By the way, I'm a little bit scared to be putting glass on these because the way that the grid is up is with 3 really strong magnetic hooks. They're rated to hold 50 pounds each. So I've had no issues with it so far, but it does make me a bit nervous. Another little plant I brought from upstairs that I didn't show you earlier is this Elaphoglossum lanceolatum. I feel like maybe like in one of these or up here next to the Phalaenopsis, possibly. This is the little riser I had for the Valmayoriana, so I'm going to put it back because that's kind of like where it goes. So this is where it always has lived. I feel like that's not looking too bad. I know this one needs to be repot, but I'm just going to put it here for now to kind of like stage it. Because when it blooms, it's going to go up and then the whiskers are going to come all the way down until it touches the floor or feels like it's touching the floor. And then maybe the, what's called Hoischkaliana can go up here. So it'd get a little bit more light because these are Monio's T8s. So it might be able to sunstress pink there because before it was here. And down here are Barinas, not quite as strong. I was able to get a little bit of sunstress, but it's kind of all went away. So maybe it'll get pinky up there, maybe, and just give me a little bit more color. So I feel like that's not too bad. There's obviously space down here for aroids. I don't think I want anthurium growing up here because I think it'll just be too much light. So maybe here will be okay. And then I think the Costa Rica can go here. King of Spades can go here. Ish. Yeah. Red crystallinum can go up here. So this like cork bark useless thing used to be able to hold a small plant. So like just for the sake of it, let's just stage something there. It's not, I don't know, don't love it, don't hate it. I need to repot this Polyneura mixed pot. This is a mixed pot of like green Polyneura and Polyneura Broguette. I've been propagating the silver ones a lot more. I haven't really propagated the green one at all, so it's like a lot longer. It does need to be repot, but let's just put it here for now and see. I don't love it. Can't say I love it. I think this would be more of a project for not summer, so I don't get like insanely hot doing it, but I think I decided I will get rid of this like mossy coconut background and just do this because I've always liked the lighting here so much more because it's like a little bit more cooler. With this, everything kind of looks a bit mustardy. I will say it does look better in person than on camera, but I just don't love it. But again, I'm not going to do it today, but I think that's going to be the plan. And would you believe we're out of plants? Because everything else here I'm either planning to repot and grow somewhere else or sell. So this is it. The top looks pretty full and looks not so bad. Down here, there's plenty of room, which actually is like, I think not a bad thing because now there's so much room for all my orchids to grow. And there's tons of space down here. So I could even grow like a taller anthurium that doesn't have such a wide growth habit. So yeah, I think this is like an ongoing work in progress, but we're pretty much done the cabinet now. By the way, I don't even know if I showed you guys this plant when I got it, but I love my Elaphoglossum metallicum so much that I got this lanceolatum. It has actually started to grow. You can see those little green dots. Those are hopefully new leaves on the way. It's planted in tree fern soil. I try to keep this one a little bit wetter, so it doesn't necessarily need water right now, but the reservoir has run out. So after I finish filming, I'm just going to add a bit of water to it. I'm hoping that now it has more light. Maybe it'll just be a bit more blue. So anyway, close the door on you for now. I'll definitely be visiting this cabinet a lot more often now and watering it, especially now that there's these two babies in there right now. And I love them so much, so it's definitely going to motivate me to stay more on top of watering here. Also, quick update on my Vittsjo setup. Pardon the mess. I've been dealing with mealybugs on this shelf for years and years. And they just love my succulents. They're all down here and some over there, but I feel like this shelf here is the worst for mealybugs. So I've had to throw some plants away that just couldn't recover from the mealybugs. They sometimes will get on my ripsalis, and I treat this with alcohol, like just fully soak it in alcohol every month or so. Surprisingly, they've never touched my ripsalis capilliformis, but they do go on the Cissus quadrangularis quite a bit. And of course, the Hoyas that are here are always getting eaten by mealybugs. So this is a Nova Ghost, Clemenciorum, like Indonesian form, I guess, some sort of Indonesian form. My Hoya compacta. So the variegated one, this one gets hit by mealybugs all the time, which is a nightmare. Also my green compacta, mealybugs all in there. But it hasn't been as bad as it historically has been. Look at my dragon's breath. It's been growing so well. This is the newest leaf. I think it might have spider mites. I've been treating it with alcohol every week or so. This is the newest addition. I finally got an Alocasia mellow from my friend Andrea. It's in pon. I want to repot it into a cuter pot, but this is what she gave it to me in. And it started to grow a new leaf, but I'm going to repot it at some point, maybe after that leaf comes out. My linearis, look how bald it looks. I've had to cut it back and reroot it a couple of times, and every time it comes back, just mealybugs. I can see some right there. Do you see it? Right where my thumb is. It was growing so well for so long, but the mealybugs, I feel like it just got so bad that it just can't recover anymore. So at some point I might have to say goodbye to my linearis. This is Ripsalis paradoxa minor. I mean, I definitely love the paradoxa regular one a lot more. It's been growing pretty well, But I just want to show you guys, like, so this is a really thick one that I got from a nursery, and it almost looked like it was a different form, you know, because it was so thick. It was like, some of them were like as thick as this, and I'm pretty sure it came from like California or somewhere really hot, really strong sun. But I just want to show you that like in regular household conditions, it just goes back to just the skinny form. You can kind of see on this one a bit more. This one's a really thick one that I got from the nursery. And then it branched off, and the new growth is just like skinny, dainty chains, which I love, so I'm not mad at it. So if you ever see a really, really thick paradoxa and you don't plan to grow it outside, you don't live in tropical conditions with really strong sun, this is probably what you're gonna get. The Ducaria madagascariensis we repot last week. It seems like it's doing okay. It started to push out one leaf, like there was these two leaves, and it's pushing out another growth below it. You can kind of see those two teeny tiny leaves. Ooh, and another one right there. My Dracaena reflexa is loving life in tree fern soil. It's been growing like somewhat slowly, as they do, but it's been growing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this Dracaena marginata, but I love it. This was kind of like rescued from Marketplace. So this girl, she got it from her office. I think a lot of people started working from home, and it was sitting inside this office just languishing in the dark for months, and she just brought it home and sold it on Marketplace, and I was so glad, because this one is like spindly like this. And if you get these in nurseries, they're going to be a lot more straight or like even braided sometimes. This plant I have been so smitten with lately. I've had this for a few years now. This is Dune Edjule. It's a cycad. This was grown from seed. My friend germinated it for me, and it's such a slow grower, but it was growing in that shelf actually, and it got so tall, this was getting smushed into the top. So I moved it here. It's under the Russo lights now. So I got a Russo light up here, and they're lighting these plants. It's quite strong, so it's been growing things really well. So I'm thinking that this will be fine down here. Because it's a terrestrial plant, I think it's not going to need like a massive amount of light, but this new leaf is so much bigger than the ones before it. Look at that. I think this is the oldest leaf on the plant. It's not the first leaf it ever grew. Then this one was kind of wonky, but this one is just perfect. And just waiting for it to fully unfurl up here. And I just can't wait for it to get bigger, because when they're bigger, they just look like these like feather plumes just going into the air. Oh, I love them so much. This is Red Crystal Porch that was moved down here late last year, I think. It's been growing really well in ambient conditions. This is the last leaf it grew. My dogs are barking because I think they heard something outside. I think like someone was like moving garbage bins. I think it's garbage bin day. Anyways, it has a pretty big root system, and that's why it can grow out here, but probably needs a repot sometime soon. It's going to fill that out. It's starting to flower. I'm not sure if I want to breed with it. Probably. Why not? My poor neighbor across the street, she's scared of dogs, but she always says hi to the dogs in the window because she calls them her window friends. She's such a sweet lady, but they just bark at her. No, not they. Doug barks at her. Huxley is fine. Huxley doesn't bark at people. I need to get up on this chair to show you. My Burley Marks Flame is doing so well under Russo's. It just put out this leaf. So over time, it's gonna turn around this way, because this one was also facing that way and then turn around to face the light. But I kind of like that because the light is pretty strong. The leaves are facing somewhat vertically, so they're not like doing this kind of thing. But we finally reached fenestrations, which I'm so happy about. I can't wait for it to get wider, a little bit more spidery looking. This one is just about hard enough, so that's going to be how big it is. So it is on my to-do list to kind of go through this and rearrange things that kind of have grown, like outgrown its spot and kind of looks like it's pushing into other things. I just want to kind of spread things out a bit more, make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Like right here, there's too much empty space. I need a taller plant back there. I don't know, I haven't figured it out yet, but that's on my to-do list. But that's just how my living room plants are doing right now. Overall, it's mainly mealybugs down here, but sometimes you'll get the odd spider mites. I do plan on doing another round of beneficials. So the, not Cucumaris, the Californicus, the ones that battle spider mites in more ambient conditions. Oh, by the way, I haven't shown you guys this. Look at this cute little clarinervium. This is like aromatherapy diffuser. Would you call it a diffuser? This is kind of for the car, but I've been putting lavender oil in here, and it's just been smelling really nice just right in this corner where I work. I will link it in the description. This is from my friend Jessica, and she sells on Etsy, but I'll link these. She does like Gloriosum, and I think there was a Frydek one, or maybe a Maxkowski. I forget. But I went with the anthurium. And even though I suck at growing clarinervium, I really love clarinervium for how they look. But they are designed to kind of clip to your car air vent. So it comes with a little clip and you just put essential oils in there. And obviously with the air, it's going to it's going to make your car smell really nice. Right here, it's quite subtle, but I've been enjoying it. It looks really cute. Just kind of blends in here. Anyways, that is my quick little living room update. By the way, I did cut my hair. It's so short now. I don't know how to style it, but we're gonna figure it out. And I'm just so happy to not have 10 pounds of hair on my head, giving me a headache every day. Hey, Doug, can you believe that he's 1 year old now? He just turned 1 July 4th. He's been quite a good boy, despite being quite vocal, which we kind of knew from the start, from the day one that we got him. But he's so affectionate. Huxley is so aloof. He's over there. He doesn't give a crap what I do. But Huxley is always going to be the love of my life. But he's there. I really feel like Huxley's part cat. He has so many cat-like tendencies. He can jump really high. The way he drinks, like if you've ever had a bulldog, you'll know, or like a lot of dogs actually, you know how messy they can be when they drink. They just drink and it's all coming down their jowls and it drips all over the floor. Huxley drinks like a cat. He just goes there and just like never makes a splash, never makes a pool of water. It's so tidy. He also does this thing that if there's like cardboard on the floor, so if there's a box, a stack of boxes, a piece of paper, he has to sit on it and eventually he'll start sleeping on it. Even if it's just like a piece of paper like this, he'll just like lay on it. It's so strange. I've never seen any other dog do that. Anyways, I've just started talking about my dogs. I wish I could have done a more hardcore plant chores video, but it's just too hot. I don't have air conditioning, hence why I cut all my hair off. If you guys are in the States watching this, just know that air conditioning in Canada is a lot more rare than it is in the States. So most of us we just live like this. Okay, now Doug is now right next to the camera and he's about to eat it. So I'm gonna end this here. What was I saying? Summertime really isn't time for me to do like intense plant chores, to do like big overhauls of my plant collection. I usually do that in the fall, winter. Anyways, I'm gonna leave you guys here because I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. It's so hot in here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've been having a lovely weekend. Have a great rest of your Sunday. I love you so much and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.